When you were a kid, was the kitchen a fun place of childhood discovery, or was it a dangerous place of cuts and burns that was only meant for adults? Do you think the rest of your life maybe would have been different if someone had shared with you the 5 kitchen truths that kids need to know to become better adults? Well, I'll share them with you today on the Carefree Cooks Code. I'm Chef Todd Moore, and this is the Carefree Cooks Code, every Tuesday live at noon Eastern. Here's our challenge. How can home cooks cook freely with creativity, confidence, and pride while ignoring recipes and still impressing themselves and others with what they cook? Well, the answer is found in becoming empowered with how cooking works, using dependable and repeatable methods of cooking that work for any ingredient, for any diet, and any desire, just like chefs do. And we'll know we've cracked it when everyone sees cooking as an exciting and rewarding way to improve their relationships, their lifestyles, and their health through better food and cooking. This is the Carefree Cooks Code. Hey, welcome back to the Carefree Cooks Code, everyone. We're live every Tuesday at noon Eastern. And if you didn't get my email reminder about today's class, go to webcookingclasses.com/live and join this alert email list that you'll get a list. And you can join the rest of us carefree cooks, the people that create their own recipes. That brings friends and family together. It's like magnets. It's incredible, right? You learn every time you cook. You create your own cooking style. Once you start practicing pro methods, you'll love your cooking. That's what it's all about. And I want to get going right away today because I have a really important topic that I want to talk to you about. This is multi-generational importance, so I want to get right to it. But first, I do have a true or false for you today. In the comments section below, please write true or false. This statement, once you defrost something, once something is defrosted, it cannot be refrozen. Is that statement true or false? Got some frozen chicken in the freezer, you put it in the fridge, you decide not to cook it, can you put it back in the freezer? True or false? That's the issue today. Look, I'm so glad that we're back together again because I have so much that I want to talk to you about. You wouldn't believe what my week is like. There is way more information in my head than I can possibly get into your brain in just 30 minutes a week. All week long, I walk around, I'm thinking, oh, I need to show them this. Oh, we need to talk about that. I'm constantly thinking about the things that I really want to share with you. And I promised you this is the year that we get everybody to their cooking goal, to the journey, at least the point they want to be. Not the end. There's never an end. We're going to get you to the point you want to be. That's why I'm always trying to come up with new ways to get the best cooking methods and the advice that can really stick with you. You know, you need to remember these things. And okay, yes, I'm a chef. But if I teach you how to cook a meal, you eat for one day, right? If I teach you how to cook in general, you know how that saying goes, right? My point is, I consider myself an educator first. And I proudly call myself a chef because I have a dual culinary degree in professional cooking and baking. And I've held some really big executive chef jobs, purchasing food and cooking for thousands of people per day. Fine, but you know what I'm most proud of? And what I would call myself an educator. That's why I was so proud when I earned my Certified Culinary Educator accreditation in 2013. And I've always taught something. 35 years ago, I taught swimming to children. Chef Todd here standing on the pool deck. I was a lifeguard at a community pool. I was a certified water safety instructor at that point. I'm sure many people would tell you I've always been certified in some way. There's me on the lifeguard stand in the early 80s. Look, I always loved to teach, and I still love to teach every single day. I mean, it's what I live for. I love to read your comments. I love to help solve somebody's frustrations. I love to help give a new perspective on something that you might not have thought of before, and that, to me, is the joy of teaching. When somebody has that aha moment that not only opens one door, but opens a ton of doors for them, and I've seen it in adults, and I've seen it in children. But adults are the hardest to teach because they carry a lot of uncertainty with them. Something that you try to teach to an adult usually has to overcome something that they already know and what they believe to be true. I mean, to teach an adult, you have to help them realize that what they've been thinking, the way they've been thinking about before might not have been right, and they have to start thinking a new way. That's not easy for people to do. That's why adults are so much harder than children to teach. Adults need to reset, need to adopt something totally new, but children are ready to hear new things. People say they're like sponges, right? Yeah, a kid's like a sponge. And if you have young kids or if you have grandkids, you know to be very careful around them, right? They are listening to everything you say. They're interpreting it through their own little brains, and they are mirroring you. Mirroring, imitating, doing what you do the first chance they get, because they are so impressed with everything you do because you're the one showing them how to do it. And if you have grandchildren, right, you are especially exalted in a child's mind. Oh my goodness, grandma or grandpa, they're older, they're wiser, they're kinder, and they are the mother or father of their mother or father, which is baffling to a kid. You know, like they're not even sure how mom and dad work, but mom's mom and dad, it's insane. Plus, you're the person that gives them cool stuff. Right? You're the person that never has to discipline them. And being a grandparent is so much better than being a parent, I would imagine. But let's get back to teaching adults here, because these young human beings, right? These young kids with the open ears, the open eyes, the open minds, they are the ones that are going to become adults eventually. And your relationship with them now may have a huge impact on the adults that they become. And you know, I encounter basically two types of adults when I teach cooking. The first type were brought into the kitchen at a young age by mom or grandma, or in my case it was grandpa. It was Grandpa Milton Moore, there on the left, my beloved grandfather. He was the cook in the family. And you know, speaking of baffled when you're a kid, I could not figure out why the the grandfather was doing the cooking. Somehow, I wasn't born a chauvinist. No, somebody taught me that women do the cooking, but the fact that grandpa did the cooking, it just was so fascinating to me. You know, so maybe I had some of those 60s chauvinistic ideas, but yeah, the other part of it is, if you knew my grandmother, right? If you knew the very proper English woman from Wimbledon, Ivy Mansfield, who lived to 102, you'd know that Ivy didn't bother with cooking, with things like that. But these people, this first type of people, they're curious people, right? The curiosity that my grandfather sparked in me in the kitchen. They want to explore in the kitchen. They want to have more confidence. They want to be free and not have any fear. They want to try new things. And these are the people that are so much easier to teach because they're willing to give up what they think they already know. They're willing to adopt something new and different. But I understand this can be really, really scary. And that's what defines the second type of adult that I teach. And these are the children who were told that the kitchen is a very dangerous place. These are the children that were told that you're in the way. You're always getting in the way. You can cut yourself. You can burn yourself. This is no place for a child. Well, what do you think the starting perspective on cooking is for these people? They have no confidence. Or if they get in the kitchen because everybody has to eat, they are incredibly serious about their cooking and the possible disasters that lie around every corner in the kitchen. They try to precisely measure everything like an insurance policy against burning themselves. They're the ones that cook exactly for 3 to 5 minutes because that's what the recipe says. They're tight. They're protective. They're on the defensive, and they're really hard to teach. Not impossible, but they're much harder than the adult whose mind was opened at an early age. But there's a third adult that I'm encountering lately. 20 years of teaching, more than that of chefing. And I have recently encountered a new person. This is the third type of person that has none of the characteristics of the previous two. They weren't welcomed into the kitchen by grandma or mom or grandpa Milton, nor were they shooed away by mom or grandma or grandpa Milton. The heck, they never went in the kitchen at all. Neither did their mom. And, there's a cooking dead end that happened somewhere around the mid-70s, as far as I can figure. Passing on the respect for food and cooking came to a complete halt at one point. And if you were a child before the mid-1970s, like I was, your mom probably cooked dinner just about every night of the week, like my mom did. In your home, the kitchen is the center of activity, right? That's where everybody is. That's where the one telephone is, bolted to the wall with an impossibly tangled cord hanging below the handset, right? The rotary dial phone was the conduit to the outside world, but it's not the only type of communication that goes on in your kitchen if you're aware of it. Your mother or your grandmother was communicating way more knowledge to you than that phone could. And you, as a child, witnessing all that was occurring before you, made a big impact on you, plus or minus a big impact. Think about all the things you witnessed back then. There was fresh food from the grocery store, right? You got meat from the town butcher. You knew the town butcher's name. You got ingredients maybe from your own backyard. As a kid, you knew what food was because it passed right in front of you all the time, day and night. And that one room in your home, that one ugly drab, who came up with the 70s olive color? I don't know. This room, this is the room that generated all the excitement for me. The dinner time, the family gatherings, the visitors from the neighborhood, or having friends over for dinner. Mom, can Joe come for dinner? People that visit from across the country, the holiday meals, the smells of the food and the cooking that bring people together. I'm sure you can remember childhood food smells to this day. No matter how many decades old you are, you can remember childhood food smells. Heck, you probably did your homework at the kitchen table as mom went about preparing the classic meat and two sides every night, right? But if you were a child growing up after the 1970s, is my theory, you probably moved from the kitchen into the living room. And you were watching the boob tube, right? You were ruining your eyesight for the rest of your life. You were rotting your brain as mom heated the Swanson TV dinner or mixed some ground beef in with a hamburger helper. This is how dinner changed in that decade. And it got worse. Because if you were a kid of the 80s or 90s, you probably just saw mom pick up the phone and call for takeout or pizza delivery. So my question here is, where is all the love gone? I mean, where is the love of cooking? Where is the enjoyment of choosing your meats from the local butcher? Where is the exhilaration of growing your own tomatoes? Where has this all disappeared to? With the decline of the household kitchen as the epicenter of body and nutrition in the home, there can't be any more of that. It's just gone, right? Or not. Let's stop that trend. Let's stop that right now, and let's do it with the kids. Because to create healthy adults, we have to be sure kids know what good food is. They have to identify it. You'd be surprised. Kids can't identify a potato. They gotta know where to get it. They have to know what to do with it. And look, based on what I've witnessed in food culture over these past decades, I've come down to basically 5 wonderful things that can happen surrounding food in the kitchen that should be mandatory for making tomorrow's adults. This is what you got to tell your kids. And there are 5 kitchen truths that your kids need to know to become better adults. Because remember, it's up to you to show them these things. And the first one is, remember, food is nature. So grow something. A child at any age can be shown how you put seeds in dirt, and how it's thrilling to watch something sprout out, to watch it grow, to eventually eat it. Oh my goodness, this teaches so many lessons to kids. And you don't need a big backyard like grandma had. Even if you live in the city, just a few herb pots, right? Just a few windowsill pots. Putting all this together, showing them the whole process, this impacts a kid for the rest of their life. The second thing is, depending on the age, you probably need to share the truth about where food comes from, including meat. Be sure also that children know that the Mega Mart grocery store isn't the only place where food is sold. Take your kid, take your grandchild to the farmer's market. Stop at a roadside stand. Show them a different aspect of food. Show them that there are people whose lives are entirely dedicated to providing food to the community that are beyond the faceless corporation, the mega grocery store. Teach them beef comes from cows. Pork comes from pigs. Chicken comes from chickens. It's just a fact. Our main sources of protein don't start in a styrofoam tray in the grocery store. And look, again, the object here is not to inflict any political agenda on your young child. Don't terrify a young kid with too much information, okay? Only you can decide when the time is right to share the news about the cows and the chickens, as well as the birds and the bees with your kids or your grandkid. But make them aware at least that food is a natural item, that food doesn't come from the factory or come from the store. Food comes from somewhere else, and there are benefits. There are also consequences on the way that we raise and eat food. Let your kids know both sides of it when they're at the right age. Third one, very important, at any age, don't make cheap food and fast food seem more exciting. Don't make McDonald's a special night out. Don't attach special with this cheap food. Don't make fast food more than it is. It's fast and it's cheap and it's convenient. Be sure you help your kids and your grandkids be able to identify good food versus good marketing, right? You can take your kid to the drive-thru anytime you want. I know there's joy in it, but make it apparent that this isn't the number one choice. This isn't the best way to eat. We're going to do this because we're short on time. Because I got news for you. If you took them home and you spent time in the kitchen together, this is much higher quality time than time at the drive-thru line. Teach your kids that kindness comes from the kitchen, and a ton of kindness does. Prepare meals, do some baking for someone in need with your kid. Bring the food over to them. Have your grandchild give the food to this person that's in need. Cooking is kindness. Contribute to a community bake sale. Bake some cookies and donate them. Volunteer at a local food charity. Show these children a different perspective on food. That there are some people that aren't guaranteed food every day. You can also demonstrate that food is love, right? Food is caring. Cooking is kindness. These are impactful lessons for a future adult. And lastly, bring them into the kitchen. At an early age, you knew this had to be the point. Help to create the first type of adult that I told you about. Show your kids and your grandkids that the kitchen is a safe place. The kitchen is a place for confidence. The kitchen is a place for creativity, kindness, and love. The kitchen is fun. The kitchen is exciting. Don't tell them that it's dangerous. Don't tell them that it's difficult. It's not. Don't tell them all the ways that they can hurt themselves or that they might be the ones to ruin dinner. Oh, that's terrible, right? No matter what the age, kids can help with cleaning string beans, stirring something. Even if it's not on the stove, just make them stir a bowl off of the side. Get them involved. They can put cooked items on the plate. They can bring the plate out to the table. Anything that gets them involved in respecting food and starting to learn how to cook. Because food pressures, man, they're heavy on kids today, right? The exciting food is cheap. It's readily available, but it comes with a lot of marketing. And home-cooked meals are not. Unless you make the home-cooked meals preferable to the lesser meals by including your children in the entire cycle of good food and how it impacts their enjoyment, their nutrition, their health, and ultimately their entire adulthood, formed in the kitchen at home, not with cheap, easily marketed food. You can create an adult palate on your adult. I know way too many adults with childhood palates still. Create an adult palate. Share all the things that should be occurring in and around the kitchen that used to be. I mean, again, it should be the heart of the home. This should be where children become great adults by respecting food and learning basic cooking skills, because when you do bring your child or grandchild into the kitchen, oh my goodness, what cooking can do for them. Cooking teaches them organization. Cooking teaches there's a place for everything and everything in its place, right? You know that one? Cooking teaches patience. No, dear, the cookies aren't ready yet. We got to wait another 5 minutes. No, the cookies have to cool. No, we still need to stir a little bit. Patience. Cooking teaches precision. Cooking teaches measurements. Cooking teaches how to do something right and what the consequences might be if you don't. Cooking teaches math. One of the very best ways to teach math is through cooking. My culinary students can't believe how much math is involved in the professional kitchen. But in the home kitchen, it's something to teach a kid. Half of this equals this. 2 of these equal that. It's wonderful. And while you're teaching math, you might as well go ahead and teach some science. How do things happen? Why do things happen? How do you change things from happening? How do you stop things from happening? You teach them hand coordination. They have to stir. They have to pour something from one bowl into another. They have to mix 2 things till it's right. They have to make decisions. They have to know how to overcome disappointments. They have to solve problems, or they have to fix something for the next time. There's still respect of hazards, even though you don't have to scare the daylights out of them. The kitchen still is a dangerous place. There's all these aspects of nutrition and what food means to the body. There are lessons on earth science and why food grows in some places and why it doesn't. There are social skills to be learned with cooking. There's the put it back where you found it involved in cooking. That's where I learned that from my mom. There's the respect for the equipment. There's the respect for the person teaching you. There's a sense of pride. There's confidence. There's creativity. These are all lifelong skills that you teach a child. These are the things that they never forget once they learn them through cooking. In the kitchen with you. You need to hold them by the hand. You need to show them these things. We need to get this back to where it used to be, where the kitchen, where the dining room is the center of the home, and we can start this again together. These are the things to empower your children with. And, you know, I know we talked about resolutions a few weeks ago, right? Geez, what would be a better resolution than this? You know, if you're still searching for your cooking resolution for this year, how about bringing somebody else into the kitchen and share what you've learned in web cooking classes, or share what you've learned from me on Facebook or YouTube or Sauce Boss or any of the International Food Finds class. Resolve this year to spend more time with your kids or grandkids in the kitchen, and you'll have a better year. I guarantee it. And you'll have a much better adult. Actually, maybe you'll have 2 much better adults for that quality time spent. Let's see what's going on in our Carefree Cooks community this week. Still a lot of cooking. Soups are the word this week. After my release of the newest program, Sauce Boss, people have been going nuts on soups. Like Walter. Walter likes close-up photography, number 1. He also made this really good-looking, it deserves a close-up shot, Walter. He made this great-looking cream of asparagus and broccoli soup. He said it's the best soup he ever made because of the method that I showed him. You know, I always say it's not what you cook, it's how you cook it. And I hear this all the time from people. I've always made asparagus and broccoli soup, same ingredients, different method, it's better. That's the way to do it. Seal made her very first Maryland crab soup. I know I inspired her because that's a very local thing here in downtown Baltimore, Maryland. Yeah, she's in Arizona, but she can still make Maryland crab soup. You don't have to be in Maryland to make this great soup, don't you know, hun? right? She has also discovered Old Bay seasoning, and she's hooked on it. I should probably get a commission from Old Bay for all the Old Bay that I push. We put it on our cereal here in Baltimore. Connie is making lobster bisque this week. I was so proud of Connie because, again, she got empowered with the method because she's onto the real secrets behind getting the best flavor and making a true bisque. She's starting with the shells, right? That was the big secret, making that compound fat or a stock with the shells. Speaking of which, Ernie is making his own stocks and bone broths now, and then he's turning them into chicken and vegetable soup. Nicely done, Ernie. Good looking soup. Judy also made the best broccoli soup of her life, she says. I love the best of my life phrases. The thing that she got out of the soups classes is the secret of infusing the flavor of the onion into the milk first and then making a bechamel sauce from that. Made a big difference, she says. And again, it's not what you cook, it's how you cook it. So thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your soup photos this week. It really makes me happy to see people putting all the courses and the instructions, all the stuff that I worked so hard to put together. It really warms my heart when I see people actually using them and improving their lifestyles through better food and cooking. Let's get back to the true or false today. How about this one? Once something is defrosted, it cannot be frozen again. True or false? No, this is false. Absolutely, you can freeze something again. And this has to do with the temperature danger zone, okay? Now, if you defrosted it in a correct fashion, you put it in the refrigerator at about 40 degrees Fahrenheit or 4 degrees Celsius, and it defrosted over a day or two, then most certainly you can put it back in the freezer. It's going to degrade further in the freezer because that moisture is going to freeze. The water expands when it freezes. It breaks down the texture of the meat. You can also get evaporation of moisture from the surface of the meat, which gives you that like freezer burn kind of thing. So it's not going to improve the chicken, let's put it that way, but it doesn't make it dangerous unless you're outside of the temperature danger zone. If you let that chicken get to 70 degrees and sit on the counter all day, no. You have got to keep it between frozen and 40 degrees to be able to freeze it again. I have a video out there somewhere. It's called Fat Tom. It tells you when your food is safe. If you want to know all about the 6 things that make food unsafe, look for my Fat Tom video. And also, if you know someone that would benefit from a more childlike acceptance of a new way of looking at cooking, please share this video, like it, so Facebook knows it's good also, and go ahead, share it with the rest of the internet while you're at it, so everyone can benefit from today's code broadcast. And you can help someone start their own culinary journey and be able to cook any ingredient for any diet or any desire in any style, and maybe they'll pass it on to their kids and their grandkids after that. The best way to start is my free guidebook. These are the first few steps you need to make. This is the philosophy of carefree cooking, the manifesto, if you will. It's the 5 forks to carefree cooking, and it's the guide that's going to show you the way. So go to 5forksguide.com to download your free copy right now. You can do it right now. You don't have to wait to do it. And until next Tuesday, when we start working again, cracking it, breaking away, chipping away at that Carefree Cooks Code, this is Chef Todd Moore reminding you that there's a method to your multi-generational cooking success. See you next week. Bye, everyone.